Jesus talked about end time events very clearly in Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13 in his Olivet Discourse. Many of these last days events are coming true right now. Welcome to another End Times Bible study. I'm Giselle Aguiar, and my purpose with these short story-like studies is to make Bible prophecy easy to understand. So this happened just before the Last Supper, and Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives when some of his disciples asked him about the future. And I'm combining all three Gospels to help make sense of it all. And if you want to dig deeper, there are links in the description to Bible studies and articles on these chapters. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next one. Here we go. The scene takes place soon after Jesus' triumphal entry on Palm Sunday and after he told the Pharisees off while teaching at the temple. As Jesus was leaving the temple that day, one of his disciples said, "Teacher, look at these magnificent buildings. Look at the impressive stones in the walls." And Jesus replied, "Yes, look at these great buildings, but they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another." Now, this prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD. In fact, it was on the 9th of Av in the Hebrew calendar, which was the same day that the first temple was destroyed by Babylon, way back in the Old Testament. Now, in our calendar, that happens to be tomorrow, August 3rd, 2025, and it's a very solemn day for Jews everywhere. And I have an article on this in the description below. Now, this was the only prophecy in the Olivet Discourse that has been fulfilled. So everything else has yet to be fulfilled or is being fulfilled. Continuing, Matthew 24:3. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Jesus replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many." Deception. That's the first thing he warned us about. False teachers and false prophets. They've been around since Paul and John's time. The epistles of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John talk about the Gnostics and false prophets. Let's look at a few more verses in the New Testament where we are warned about false prophets. Well, first, Jesus warned us in Matthew 7:15 in the Sermon on the Mount. "Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves." And that's where we get the phrase, "a wolf in sheep's clothing." Peter warned us in 2 Peter 2:1-3. "But there were also false prophets in Israel, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will cleverly teach destructive heresies and even deny the master who brought them. In this way, they will bring sudden destruction on themselves. Many follow their evil teaching and shameful immorality. But because of these teachers, the way of truth will be slandered. In their greed, they will make up clever lies to get hold of your money, but God condemned them long ago, and their destruction will not be delayed." John wrote, 1 John 4:1-3. "Dear friends, do not believe everyone who claims to speak by the Spirit. You must test them to see if the Spirit they have comes from God, for there will be many false prophets in the world. This is how we know they have the Spirit of God. If a person claiming to be a prophet acknowledges that Jesus Christ came in a real body, that person has the Spirit of God. But if someone claims to be a prophet and does not acknowledge the truth about Jesus, that person is not from God. Such a person has the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard is coming into the world and indeed is already here." We need the power of the Holy Spirit in our hearts to be able to discern between truth and lies. And you could only have the gift of the Holy Spirit if you are a born-again believer. And we also need to be like the Bereans, who we find in Acts 17:10-12. They scoured the scriptures to make sure that the Apostle Paul was preaching the truth. If you don't read the truth in the Bible, you won't know when you're being lied to. Going on. Mark 13, verse 7. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, kingdom against kingdom. The Greek word for nation is ethnos. That's where we get our word for ethnic and ethnicity. So we can say it's ethnic group against ethnic group, people group against people group. And we can see that all over the world. If you don't see it, if you don't realize, you're not paying attention or you're deceiving yourself. Check out these reports. The 2025 Global Peace Index reported 59 active conflicts in over 35 countries, a level not seen since the Second World War. The Geneva Academy's Rule of Law and Armed Conflict identifies more than 110 armed conflicts. The International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, states there are over 120 armed conflicts globally involving more than 60 states and 120 non-state armed groups. Now notice that Jesus said, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. What does that mean? Well, I'll get to that in a bit. Now let's talk about anti-Semitism. Undoubtedly, anti-Semitism, the hatred of Jews and Zionists, people who love Israel, is on the rise all over the world. We must accept the truth of what's going on. God said in Zechariah 12:3, verses 2 to 3, I will make Jerusalem like an intoxicating drink that makes nearby nations stagger when they send their armies to besiege Jerusalem and Judah. On that day, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock. All the nations will gather against it to try to move it, but they will only hurt themselves. However, if you continue reading in the book of Zechariah down to chapter 12, verse 9, God said, for on that day I will begin to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. See, God wins in the end. Check out the Bible studies and articles that I have linked below. Jesus continues to jump over to Mark 13, verse 7. There will be earthquakes in many parts of the world, as well as famines. Now, these screenshots are from the free Quake Feed app that I check several times a day. What I've noticed is not just high magnitude quakes, but lots of clusters. This one here was taken on April 23rd, 2025. A 6.2 earthquake struck near Istanbul, Turkey. And then it had over 149 aftershocks, the largest at 5.3. And that's nothing compared to this past week on July 29, 2029. And I took the earthquake happened on July 29th, but I took the screenshot on the 30th. There was an 8.8 magnitude earthquake off the shore of Russia in the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. 441 earthquakes total all over the globe at the time. Okay. Since that 8.8 in just that region, there have been over 340 aftershocks at 4.5 and greater. Uh, yeah, this is I follow this guy on YouTube called the EarthMaster. I have a link to his YouTube video in the. And he said he just kept saying this is unprecedented. And I go, gee, that's the word we used in 2020 a lot, unprecedented. Well, that 8.8 also caused a tsunami all around the Pacific Rim. And it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but still, that got a lot of people's attention. Now, this image is from Volcanoes and Earthquakes app, and it shows the active volcanoes in the Kamchatka Peninsula along with the 8.8 earthquake and its aftershocks. And though the quakes seem to be calming down, the these couple of days. The earthquake expert, EarthMaster, says that there's a big chance of another high magnitude quake in this area. And in this last video, he mentioned that Mount Rainier, Washington, had 1,240 tremors. It's a volcano, guys, that has been dormant, which I don't think it's going to be dormant for very long. Then, of course, California is still waiting for that big one. Usually when I look at the Quake Feed app, I see an average over any given 24-hour period around 200 earthquakes. So, I mean, this one, I took it just before I recorded this video at 273. So, we shall see and we'll keep thinking. I haven't seen it any lower than like 180. So the Greek word for earthquake is seismos, Sysmos, which covers not just earthquakes, but other seismic disturbances. It's where we get our word seismic. So it covers seismic disturbances in the sky or the earth, like volcanoes, landslides, hurricanes, tornadoes, storms, etc. Okay, so rough weather coming. This hurricane season has started kind of slow, but we're, we're just in August. So end of August, September, let's see what happens. Okay, Luke writes in chapter 21, verse 11, there will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and plagues in many lands, and there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. Now, this is from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. It's the Desert Locust Bulletin, and it's showing North Africa. Okay, and the locusts are not only in Africa, but also in Australia. Locusts eat everything that's a plant in their path, including trees and crops, flowers, everything, everything. It weeds. I mean, it just eats everything that's in their way, and that leads to famines. Okay, I mean, earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, storms. They all, they all lead to they all lead to famines. We know what happened in 2020 and all other contagious parasites and illnesses showing up. But have you heard of the screwworm in northern Mexico eating cattle? I live in Arizona, so I'm like, watching this thing and let it stay there. And then hopefully they will figure it out and kill it and stop it before it reaches the Arizona farms and ranches. The links to these articles are in the description. You want to verify me. All these are birth pains, as Jesus said in Matthew 24:8. But this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Now, I've never given birth, but I know how it works. The pain starts easy and far apart. Then they get stronger and more frequent and painful until the baby is born. Given that, you need to understand that things in this fallen world will get worse before Jesus comes back to get us born again believers. That's the rapture. And I thank God that this world is not all there is. In the meantime, we need to stay rooted in the Word. And with that in mind, I'm going to read from Psalms. This morning, my devotion time, the Holy Spirit led me to Psalms 1 and 2. They are short and perfect to pray at a time like this. For Psalm 1, enjoy these images I created with the YouVersion Bible app, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Oh, the joys of those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand around with sinners, or join in with mockers, but they delight in the law of the Lord, meditating on it day and night. They are like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do. But not the wicked. They are like worthless chaff, scattered by the wind. They will be condemned at the time of judgment. Sinners will have no place among the godly. For the Lord watches over the path of the godly, but the path of the wicked leads to destruction. Then continuing to Psalm 2. Now keep in mind that these Psalms were written around 979 BC. Why are the nations so angry? Why do they waste their time with futile plans? The kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from the slavery to God. But the one who rules in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then in anger he rebukes them, terrifying them with his fierce fury. For the Lord declares, I have placed my chosen king on the throne in Jerusalem, in Zion. Okay, I added the Zion, on my holy mountain. The king proclaims the Lord's decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Only ask, and I will give you the nations as your inheritance, the whole earth as your possession. You will break them with an iron rod and smash them like clay pots. Now then, you kings, act wisely. Be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverent fear and rejoicing with trembling. Submit to God's royal Son, or he will become angry, and you will be destroyed in the midst of all your activities. For his anger flares up in an instant, but what joy for all who take refuge in him. Yes, Jesus is our joy. He is our refuge because he promised us that he is coming back and he keeps his promises. This was just part one of the Olivet Discourse. We'll go on hopefully next week in our next video. But I want you to remember the rapture is imminent. That means it could happen at any time. Are you ready? You're ready if you're a born again, saved believer. If you're not sure if you're saved or not, if you truly want to be born again and have the assurance of salvation, receive the Holy Spirit, feel his shalom. It's a peace that surpasses all understanding, and get a one-way, nonstop ticket to heaven after you die, and that you won't be left behind at the rapture, which again can happen in any moment. Invite Jesus into your heart and receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. Click on the link below that says how to know Jesus. Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone be the glory.